Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So this is the last part regarding the central nervous system. That is, we were discussing about the brain, that is the cerebrum. Okay. So the outer covering of the cerebrum, which is composed of the grey matter, that is known as the cerebral cortex. Okay, now this particular cerebral cortex, it is organized into different areas, we can call as the functional areas. Okay, so now what is the function of your CNS? It mainly carries out three functions, right? The sensory function, the integrative function and the motor function. Okay, so these are the three functions of the nervous system in fact. Okay, so all these three functions are being carried out by the brain. Okay, so there are dedicated area in the cerebral cortex which are meant for a specific function. Okay, so sensory, motor and the integrative signal. So these are processed in certain regions of this cerebral cortex. Okay, so accordingly the cerebral cortex in each hemisphere, remember the cerebrum, it is divided into two hemispheres by the, there is a fissure which divides the cerebrum into two hemispheres. Can you name that particular fissure? Fissure, it is the type of groove, right, which are present within the cerebral cortex. Okay, so as the cerebral cortex, it grows very rapidly in the fetal life, the cerebral cortex, it is thrown into several folds. So the folds, these are known as, can you recall what a fold is known as? Yes, these are the gyri. And what are the grooves known as? Grooves are known as the sulci. So singularly these are known as the gyrus and sulci, a single one is known as the sulcus. Okay, so these folds which are present, okay, these represent different areas. Okay, now out of these sulci, the deepest one, it is known as the longitudinal fissure, which divides the cerebrum into two hemispheres. Okay, so accordingly in both the hemispheres, both the cerebral hemispheres will be located these three types of areas depending upon what function they are carrying out. Okay, so accordingly there is a sensory area, motor area and association area. Okay, so there are a number of areas which carry out different types of functions. So different sensory functions will be carried out by different sensory areas, right? There are different types of sensations. So accordingly there is a dedicated area for different type of sensation. Motor areas, so what these will do, they will control the execution of the voluntary movements. And the association area, they will carry out the complex integrative functions. Okay, so sensory areas, they will receive the sensory information. So these areas are mainly involved in the perception. Okay, now what a perception is? It is the conscious awareness of a particular sensation. Okay, you perceive something, that is, you come to know that something is happening. That's because of this sensory area. So it will interpret that something is happening, some changes are going on, maybe within the body or external to the body. Okay, so that is taken care of by the sensory area. The motor areas, as I have said, they control the execution of the voluntary movements, motor functions. So these are the ones which may involve the contraction of which type of muscles? How many types of muscles are present in the body? Muscular tissue you all have studied. So how many types of muscles are present? There are 3, right? So there are smooth muscles, there are cardiac muscles, and there are skeletal muscles, right? Okay, so smooth muscles, these are present in the which areas? These are present mainly in the visceral organs. Okay, cardiac muscles, where they are located? So as the name implies, these are the muscles which are present in the heart. And the skeletal muscles, these are the ones which are associated with the skeletal system, that is your skeleton, that is your bones. Okay, now out of these 3, which are the ones which is voluntary in nature? What do you mean by voluntary? Voluntary, there are voluntary muscles and there are involuntary muscles, right? So voluntary muscles are the ones which are under your control, that is, you can make them contract. Involuntary muscles are the ones which you yourselves cannot make them contract. Okay, so out of these 3, which are the ones which are voluntary in nature? Smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, or the skeletal muscles? Yes, it is the skeletal muscles which are voluntary in nature. These 2 are involuntary in nature, right? Because you willingly cannot make the smooth muscles or cardiac muscles to contract. Okay, whereas these are under your control. So voluntary movements, the area, that is the motor area, it is carrying out the execution of voluntary movements by making the skeletal muscles to contract as per what output is required. Okay, then the association areas, these will deal with the more complex functions or integrative functions like memory. You remember things which have happened in the past, emotions, or the reasoning. Okay, now you can reason out certain things, right? Why some certain things are happening. You can reason out correctly, right? Okay, your willingness to do something, your judgment about something. Okay, then the personality trait. Everyone's personality is different, right? Okay, everyone's behavior is different. So that's because of these association areas. Apart from that, the intelligence. Everyone is not equally intelligent, right? So all these association areas take care of these differential integrative functions. Okay, so these are the 3 areas into which the cerebral cortex can be divided into. So coming to the first area, that is the sensory areas. Okay, so plural means there are a number of areas, okay, which function as the sensory areas. Now what is the function of this particular areas? Any sensory impulse. What is a sensory impulse? Something which is bringing in the information about a particular sense. It may be a sense of smell, it may be a sense of hearing, vision, touch, pressure. Okay, so such sensory impulses, these mainly are conveyed to the posterior half of both the cerebral hemispheres. So the region behind the central sulcus. Okay, what is the central sulcus? Central sulci in the sense both the hemispheres. Okay, now what is the central sulcus? Can you all recall what it is? So that's a groove which is separating two lobes, right? Which are they? So it is separating the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe, correct? Okay, so in the regions just behind the central sulci in both the cerebral hemispheres lies these sensory areas. Okay, now in cerebral cortex there is a primary sensory areas. So this will receive the information from the peripheral sensory receptors, or this particular information it is relayed through the lower regions of the brain, right? So the peripheral receptors, they will sense that particular change and they will send the signals towards your spinal cord or lower regions of your brain, and then it will relay into this particular area which is located in the higher center. That is a primary sensory area. Okay. Now apart from that, sensory association areas are also located just adjacent to these primary areas. So the corresponding sensory association area will be located just adjacent to the corresponding primary areas. Say for example, primary visual area, just adjacent to that will be located the association visual areas. Okay. Now what is the function of this particular sensory association areas and how they differ from the primary sensory areas? So these usually receive the inputs both from the primary areas and from the other regions of the brain. Okay. Now these sensory association areas usually they integrate the sensory experiences. That is your sensory areas, they will help you to perceive what is happening, right? They will be making you aware of something. But these association areas actually they generate the meaningful patterns of recognition and awareness. So by the primary sensory areas you will be only able to sense. Say for example, the primary visual areas. It will allow you to see an object. Okay. So supposing if this particular area is damaged, the person will be blind in at least a part of the visual field, right? But if the person's visual association area, if this area is damaged, now what is the function of these association areas? To integrate the sensory experience, to understand what it is. Primary visual area will allow you only to see an object, but the visual association area, that will help you to recognize the objects. So just by looking at that object, you will be able to identify that particular object. Say for example, a lamp or a toothbrush. So just by looking at it, you come to know that it is a toothbrush, it is a lamp, and so on, right? Say for example, I have displayed this picture for you. Now supposing if your visual association area it is damaged, you will not be able to understand what this is. You will be only able to see this as a picture, but you will not understand what this is. But now you know, right, what this is. What is this? You are familiar with this particular picture, right? So that's the neuron, right? So you know it. Okay. So you are able to identify what exactly it is. So you are not just seeing it, but you are able to identify. That's the function of the association areas. Okay. So with this, let us see in detail what are the different sensory areas. Okay. So these are the different types of sensory areas. The first one is the primary somatosensory area. Now as you can see, in front of each and every name, some numbers are written, right? Areas 1, 2 and 3. You know what this number signifies? So just for the matter of convenience, these areas have been given some numbers. How you will identify in the cerebral cortex where exactly the primary somatosensory area is located? So for that matter, the numbers are given. Just like in your class, you are assigned some roll numbers for identification. So similarly, these areas also have been assigned some numbers for identification. Okay, so the primary somatosensory area, these are numbered as 1, 2 and 3. Then the next sensory area is the primary visual area. Okay, so by looking at the names, you will be able to interpret what exactly they are sensing. These are primary sensory areas, right? Somatosensory. Okay, so these will be the area which will sense the touch, pressure and so on. Okay. Somatic receptors, they will actually sense it and send the signals to this area. Visual area. So this is to do with the vision. So this area, it is numbered as 17, area 17. The primary auditory area. So this will be associated with what? Auditory means what? Yes, hearing. Okay, so this is numbered as area 41 and 42. Okay, so sometimes there are more number of areas which are associated with that particular area. Okay, then the next one is the primary gustatory area. So gustatory area will sense what? It will sense the, yes, the taste sensation. So here the area number 43 is associated with the gustatory area. The primary olfactory area. Olfaction. Olfaction means what? The sense of smell. Okay, so this olfactory area, it will sense the smell. So it is numbered as area number 28. Okay, so let us consider all these three areas. We will see where exactly these areas are located and what are the functions which are carried out by that particular area. So coming to the first type of area, that is the primary somatosensory area, that is area number 1, 2 and 3. So as you can see that these areas which are associated with the primary somatosensory area, that is area number 1, 2 and 3. As you can see that this is the picture showing one half of the cerebral hemisphere. Correct? That's the frontal lobe. Okay, that's your central sulcus, which is dividing the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. Okay, so that's the parieto-occipital sulcus, which is dividing the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe, and that's the lateral cerebral sulcus, which is dividing the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe. Okay, now as you can see that several numbers are represented over here to signify a particular area. So as you can see that this particular area, it is associated with the primary somatosensory area. Now where exactly it is located? It is located just posterior to the central sulcus, right? So what this is known as, remember this one, it is called as the postcentral gyrus, right? So the fold which is located just posterior to the central sulcus, it is called as the postcentral gyrus. So this primary somatosensory area, it is nothing but this postcentral gyrus. Okay, so it extends from the lateral cerebral sulcus. Where is the lateral cerebral sulcus? This one. So it extends from here along the lateral surface of the parietal lobe to the longitudinal fissure. Longitudinal fissure will be located somewhere over here, right, which divides the two hemispheres. Okay, so it extends throughout this particular area. So it will extend even within the longitudinal fissure. Okay, now what is the function of this primary somatosensory area? So it will receive the sensory impulses, right? So sensory impulses for touch, pressure, vibration, itch, tickle, temperature, that is either cold or warm temperature, you are able to feel, right? Then the pain, proprioception, that is the position of joints and muscles. Okay, so it is involved in the perception of these somatic sensations. These are all the somatic sensations, right? So you come to know about all these. Why do you come to know? Because these impulses are related to the primary somatosensory area. So this will receive the sensory impulses. Now this particular area, primary somatosensory area, it has a map of entire body. As you can see over here, these are your teeth, gums, lips, okay, nose. So there's a face, eyes, fingers, your hand, arm, okay. So that's your shoulder, okay, abdominal region, trunk, the hip, then the legs, foot, toes, your genitals. So as you can see that this is the area, right, which represents the primary somatosensory area, correct? So this shows the frontal plane through this postcentral gyrus. Okay. So as you can see that in specific area within this primary somatosensory area, each point receives the impulses from a specific part of the body. Okay, as you can see that it is named over here, right, from where exactly so the impulses from the lips will relay in this area. Okay, impulses from the face over here, impulses from the eyes, okay, impulses from your finger. There are separate areas for separate fingers, right, your wrist, your forearm, okay, you can feel, right, in all these areas. You have sensations from all these areas, right, shoulder, neck, trunk, hip, legs, toes and so on. Okay, so there is a dedicated area within this primary somatosensory area which is meant to receive impulses from a specific part of the body. Okay, now the size of area which is receiving the impulse from a certain region will depend upon the number of receptors which are present in that area, rather than the size of the actual part from which it is receiving. Now the lips or your face, it has quite a large area, right, which is dedicated. Even your fingers, it has quite a large area, right, as compared to your trunk, shoulder, your trunk or hips. So size doesn't matter. What matters is the number of receptors. So the more the number of receptors in that particular area, more will be the area which is dedicated to that particular part. Okay, so there are larger areas which represent the impulses from the lips or the fingertips. Okay, now this distorted somatic sensory map, this particular map, it is named as sensory homunculus. Now what is the meaning of homunculus? Little man, right? So it's a picture of human being, right? But it's a distorted picture of a human body, right? That's because of the differential areas which are receiving the impulses from a particular area. Okay, so this sensations in this particular area, it will allow you to pinpoint where exactly this somatic sensation is originating from, right? Say for example, a mosquito. If it's biting you, you come to know where exactly in your body, right? To sweat it at a correct place. Without even looking at it, you can sweat at that particular area, right? That's because of this map which is present in this somatosensory area. Okay, then the next area is the primary visual area, that is area number 17. So this is located at the posterior tip of the occipital lobe. Okay, so area number 17, that's the one. It is located in the occipital lobe, right? So right at the tip, in the medial surface. So that is towards the longitudinal fissure it is located. So it will receive the visual impulses. Okay, so this particular area is involved in the visual perception. That is, you are able to see things because of this area. Next one is the primary auditory area, that is 41 and 42. These are the ones. Okay, primary auditory area. So this is located in the superior parts of the temporal lobe. That's your temporal lobe, right? Okay, so in the superior aspects of the temporal lobe lies the primary auditory area near the lateral cerebral sulcus. So this will receive the impulses for sound. So it is involved in the auditory perception. That is, you are able to hear things because of this area. Next one is the primary gustatory area, that is area number 43. That's the one. Primary gustatory area. So this is located at the base of the precentral gyrus. Okay, so that's your precentral gyrus, right? Sorry, the postcentral gyrus. Okay, so just at the base of this postcentral gyrus is located the primary gustatory area, just superior to the lateral cerebral sulcus. Okay, so this will receive the impulses for taste. So this is involved in the gustatory perception and taste discrimination. So you are able to identify a particular taste, that's because of this area. Next area is primary olfactory area, that is area number 23. Now this particular area is located in the temporal lobe. Okay, that's somewhere over here, but can you see it anywhere? Is it numbered over here? No, that's because it is present in the medial aspects, so within it, towards the interior side. Okay, so this will receive the impulses for smell, so it is involved in the olfactory perception. Okay, olfaction, that is sense of smell. So the impulses, these are relaying towards primary olfactory area, that's located within the temporal. So these are all the sensory areas. Coming to the next type of areas, that is the motor areas. Okay, so your brain will also send some motor impulses. So there are certain areas in the cerebral cortex which are controlling these motor functions, right? So these are originating from these motor areas. Now there are only two motor areas, that is the primary motor area, that is area number 4, and the Broca's speech area, that is area number 44 and 45. Okay. Coming to the first one, that is the primary motor area, that is area number 4. So this particular area is located in the precentral gyrus. Okay, so that's the one, precentral gyrus. So it mainly constitutes of primary motor area, that is area number 4. So it's basically the precentral gyrus, the fold which is located just anterior to the central sulcus. Okay, so this is located in the frontal lobe. Now, just like your primary somatosensory area, we have seen that there is a map of entire body, right? So distorted map of a body is present. So depending upon which area is receiving the sensations from which particular part. So similarly, there is a map of entire body in the primary motor area too. As you can see over here, it is slightly different, somewhat similar but slightly different. Okay, so as you can see that the areas which are controlling the different parts. So now here these regions, as you can see the names are given. So these are the regions which are controlling the muscles in the respective area. Okay, so similar map will be present on both the sides, right? That's your longitudinal fissure. Okay, so similarly, similar map will be present on the opposite side of the hemisphere also, right? Okay, so any impulse which is generating from these regions, it is actually controlling the skeletal muscle fibers on the opposite side of the body. Correct? So these are the areas which are controlling the muscles in specific regions. As you can see that these are the facial regions. Then the fingers, they have quite a large area, your hand, your wrist and finger. Comparatively the wrist, elbow, shoulder, trunk, hip, knees, ankles, toes, they have a little area, right? So size doesn't matter. So there is unequal distribution, right? Now more cortical area, it is devoted to the muscles which are involved in the skilled, complex or delicate movements like your fingers, right? They are involved in quite skilled operations, right? So there is more area which is dedicated for this particular area. Okay, so as you can see, the ones which is devoted for your fingers, that is quite large, right, as compared to your trunk or your toes. Okay, so this particular distorted map, muscle map, it is known as the motor homunculus. Homunculus means little man. Correct? In the primary somatosensory area, it was sensory homunculus. This one is a motor homunculus, right? So it is controlling the muscles in the specific areas of the body. Then the second motor area is the Broca's speech area, that is area number 44 and 45. These are the ones. Okay, Broca's speech area. So this is located in the frontal lobe, just close to your lateral cerebral sulcus. Okay, so as you can see, these are located close to the lateral cerebral sulcus. So as the name implies, speech area. So these will be associated with the speaking and understanding the language. So these are the complex activities which will be involving the sensory association as well as motor areas of the cortex. Okay, so mainly these particular areas are more influencing in the left hemisphere in most of the population. Okay, now these areas, they will help in planning and production of the speech. Okay, so these areas are sending the nerve impulses to the premotor regions. Okay, so these are actually in turn controlling the larynx, pharynx and the mouth. So these are involved, these are the parts of your body which are involved in the speech, right? The way which you are talking or what you are talking. what you are speaking. So that's controlled by this Broca's speech area. Okay, so the Broca's speech area in turn will send the impulses to the premotor regions, and these in turn will send the impulses to the specific muscles which contract in the coordinated manner to produce the speech. Okay. Simultaneously, it will also send the impulses to primary motor area, that's over here. So this in turn will control the breathing muscles to regulate the proper flow of the air past the vocal cords. So you produce a particular type of pronunciation or speech that will depend upon the movement of your vocal cords. So this primary motor area will control the contractions of these muscles which are involved in the breathing. So it will control the way in which you are speaking. Okay, so this coordinated contraction of the vocal cords and the breathing muscles, this will enable you to speak out your thoughts. So whatever you are thinking, you can speak out in an appropriate manner. That's because of this Broca's speech area. Now supposing if a person suffers from a cerebrovascular accident or a stroke in this particular area, in the Broca's speech area, so the person will have clear thoughts but will be unable to form the words. They will not be able to form proper words. So this condition is referred to as non-fluent aphasia. The person will not be able to speak out properly. Though they have clear thinking, they will not be able to express it in terms of speech. So these are all the motor areas. Then coming to the third type of areas, that is the association areas. So these consist of large areas which are distributed throughout the cerebral cortex. They are present in the occipital lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobes, okay, even in the frontal lobes anterior to the motor areas. Okay. So a number of association areas are allotted in the cerebral cortex. The first one is the somatosensory association areas, that is area number 5 and 7, visual association areas 18 and 19, the facial recognition areas 20, 21 and 37, auditory association areas area number 22, then the orbitofrontal cortex, that is area number 11, Wernicke's area or the posterior language area, that is area number 22, 39 and 40, the common integrative areas, that is 5, 7, 39 and 40, the prefrontal cortex or the frontal association area, that is area number 9, 10, 11 and 12, then the premotor areas, that is area number 6, and the frontal eye field area, that is area number 8. So as you can see that a number of areas function as the association area. So these areas will be associated with the integrative functions, so more common integrative functions. So let us consider all these areas one by one. Coming to the first one, that is somatosensory association areas, that is 5 and 7. These are the ones, somatosensory association areas. So these lie just posterior to the primary somatosensory area, just posterior to it. So this will receive the inputs from the primary somatosensory area as well as from the thalamus and other parts of the brain. So these areas, they will help you to determine the exact shape and texture of a particular object by feeling. You are able to identify the shape of an object, right? even to determine the orientation of one object with respect to another one. Where exactly the second object is. You just sometimes give the reference, right, of a particular object if you are searching for something. So you can direct, right, it is just next to the television, okay, or it is inside the cupboard. Okay, so you are able to identify the orientation of one object with respect to another object. So if you have kept something above a particular object on top of the table, so you are able to identify that orientation, right, even the directions, or to sense the relationship of one part of the body to another. You are able to feel that, right? Supposing if you have placed your hands on your thighs, do you have to look at it to identify that your hands are on your thighs? Is it? Without looking at it also you come to know, right? So that's the function of the somatosensory association areas. Another role is to store the information. So some past somatic sensory experiences, these are stored so that you can retrieve that information, right? So something which you must have felt few days back, you can recall that, right? So that storage is also the function of somatosensory area. Say for example, it will help you in identifying the objects just by feeling them. So you are able to identify a pencil, right, just by touching it. If you close your eyes, if I place a pencil on your hand, if I ask you to identify it, even without looking at it, you will be able to identify that it's a pencil, right, or a paper clip, just by touching them. So that's because of the somatosensory association areas. Next one is the visual association areas, that is area number 18 and 19. These are the ones. So these are located just adjacent to the primary visual area. So it is located in the occipital lobe. So it will receive the sensory impulses from the primary visual area and from the thalamus. Okay, so it will help you in relating the present and past visual experiences, for recognizing or evaluating what is seen, right? You are able to recognize things, right, what you have seen in the past. You are able to evaluate something, correct? You will be able to identify something. So this area will help you to recognize a particular object. Remember this example I had given previously in the introduction. So your primary visual area will allow you to see an object, but your visual association area, it will help you to understand what it is or recognize what it is just by looking at it. Okay. Next area is the facial recognition area. So this will correspond to area number 20, 21 and 37. These are the ones. So it is located in the inferior temporal lobe. So this will receive the impulses from the visual association areas. Now facial recognition area. So this area stores the information about the faces, so that you can identify people, right? You remember faces, correct? Even if you don't see a particular person for years together, still you are able to remember the face, right? Even if I ask you to recall who was your best friend in your school, you will be able to recognize their faces also, right? So that's because of this facial recognition area. Okay, so this particular area, it is more dominant in the right hemisphere as compared to the corresponding region in the left hemisphere. Next one is the auditory association area. That is the area number 22. So this particular area, it is located in the inferior and posterior aspects of the primary auditory area. This one. Okay. So just next to it is located the auditory association area. Okay. So this will allow you to recognize the sound. Primary auditory area will help you to hear the sound. But what type of sound it is, you are able to identify, right? Whether it is a speech or whether it is a music or noise, you are able to differentiate that, right? That's because of the auditory association area. Next area is the orbitofrontal cortex. Now this roughly corresponds to area number 11. That is somewhere over here, along the lateral part of the frontal lobe. So this will receive the impulses from the primary olfactory area. Now where is the primary olfactory area located? Can you see it anywhere over here nearby? No. Can you recall where the olfactory area is located and what is the number associated with it? Yes? That's the area number 28. Now why can't you see it over here? That's because it is located in the medial aspects of the temporal lobe, right? So that's why it is not shown over here. Now what is the function of this orbitofrontal cortex? It will allow you to identify the odors. Olfactory area, it is associated with the sense of smell, right? So this particular area, orbitofrontal cortex, it will be identifying the odors, different types of odors, discrimination among different types of odors. You are able to identify certain odors, right? From the odor you will come to know what your mom is cooking in the kitchen, right? That's because of this orbitofrontal cortex. Okay. Now again over here the orbitofrontal cortex of right hemisphere, it exhibits the greater activity as compared to the area in the left hemisphere. Then the next area is the vernix area or the posterior language area, that is area number 22 and possibly area number 39 and 40. That's over here. Vernix area. So this is the broad region in the left temporal and the parietal lobes. So this will help you to interpret the meaning of the speech by recognizing the words which are spoken. So the auditory area, it will help you to hear, right? But this particular area, vernix language area, it will help you to identify the words. What is the meaning of the words? Okay, so it will translate the words into thoughts. That is, you will understand what exactly is the meaning of the word. Okay. For example, if I speak out this word anterior. Now when I speak out, you hear that word, right? But then when I tell you anterior means the front side, so now you know what exactly this particular word means. So whenever I use this particular word anterior, you will come to know that it is in the front side, right? Say for example this area, the primary motor area, it is located anterior to the central sulcus. So when I say that, you come to know that this area is located in the front side. Correct? That's the function of vernix area. Okay, again the regions in the right hemisphere. As compared to the corresponding area in the left hemisphere, it contributes to the verbal communication by adding the emotional content. Now say for example, when you are angry, the way you speak, it is slightly different, right? So in your anger, some emotional content is added, right? Your voice pitch will increase. Okay, the way you pronounce the words, they may differ. Okay, your tone may differ as compared to when you are happy. So the words which are spoken in a different manner depending upon your mood. So that is because of this vernix area. Okay, now supposing if the person's Broca's area is damaged, the person may not be able to speak appropriately, right? As we have seen. But supposing if the vernix area is damaged, the person is able to speak appropriately, but cannot arrange the words in a coherent fashion. So this particular condition is known as fluent aphasia or the word salad. They are able to speak but not in a coherent manner. Next area is the common integrative area, that is the one which is associated with area number 5, 7, 39 and 40. Okay, this particular area. Okay, so it is bordered by the somatosensory area, visual area and the auditory association areas, correct? So that's your somatosensory association area, visual association area and your auditory association area. Okay, so it is surrounded by these areas. So it will receive the nerve impulses from these three areas and also from the primary gustatory area, that is this one, also from the primary olfactory area, that is area number 28, also from the thalamus and the parts of the brain stem. So as you can see that this particular area, common integrative area, so it is receiving the inputs from several primary sensory areas, right? So it helps in integrating the sensory interpretation. So as you can see the name, common integrative area. So it's an association area which help in integrating the several sensory inputs. A variety of sensory inputs can be integrated. So it will get transmitted into some signals, some outputs to other parts of the brain to produce some appropriate response to that particular sensory signal. So all these sensory impulses, this will be integrated in this common integrative area, and it will be interpreted and appropriate output will be given. And the next association area is prefrontal cortex or frontal association area. So this particular is a vast area in the anterior portions of the frontal lobe. So it is associated with area number 9, 10, 11 and 12. As you can see over here. So most of the frontal lobe, anterior portions of your frontal lobe. Okay, now area number 12, it is present in the medial region. So it is not focused over here. Okay, so this particular area, it receives connections from several other areas of the cerebral cortex, other areas, thalamus, hypothalamus, limbic system and the cerebellum. Okay, so it is mainly responsible for a particular person's personality. It's different, right, from person to person. The intellect, how intelligent the person is, or the complex learning abilities, they are different, right, from person to person. Or to recall some information, all cannot recall the information the similar way, right, or to take initiative or judgment about something, or the foresight, that is to imagine something which may happen in future, or reasoning out something, or conscience, that is behaving in an appropriate manner to know what is correct and wrong. Intuitions, imagining something, mood of a particular person may be different, planning about future, all cannot plan appropriately, or the development of abstract ideas. So everyone have different levels, right? So that's dependent upon the prefrontal cortex. Okay, so the person in whom there is a bilateral damage to the prefrontal cortices, that is on both the sides, the person may become rude, inconsiderate, or incapable of accepting the advices. If you tell them something, they will not accept it very easily, or they are very moody, their mood changes, their mood swings, inattentive, less creative, unable to plan for future, or they are incapable of anticipating the consequences of being rash or reckless words or their behavior. So they won't come to know what are the consequences. And the next area is the premotor area, that is area number 6. That's the one. So this is the motor association area. So it is just anterior to the primary motor area, right? That's your primary motor area, area number 4. So this particular area, it will receive the impulses from the primary motor area, the sensory association areas in the parietal lobe, basal nuclei and the thalamus. So this deals with the learned motor activities of a complex and sequential nature. So those motor skills which you learn, these are because of these premotor areas. Okay, so it will generate some impulses which cause the specific group of muscles to contract in a particular sequence. Say for example, when you are writing your name, do you have to think while writing your name? You can write it very quickly, right? So as you have learned to write your name, to spell out your name, so that's a skill, right, which you have developed. So even by closing your eyes also you are able to write your name very correctly, right? Okay, so that's because of the premotor area. Next one is the frontal eye field area, that is area number 8. This is the one, frontal eye field area. So this is also present in the frontal cortex. Sometimes it is included in the premotor area. So it will control the voluntary scanning movements of your eyes. So the movements of your eyes when you are reading something, say for example when you are reading this sentence, it controls voluntary scanning movements of the eye. So you are able to scan these stationary words, right? So the movement of your eyes as you are reading, so that is controlled by this frontal eye field area. Okay, so this is to do with the different areas into which the cerebral cortex is divided into. So it is mainly divided into 3 areas based on what functions are supposed to be executed. So certain areas are grouped under the sensory areas, so they will receive the sensations from sense organs, different sense organs, so there are different areas. There are motor areas which will control the voluntary movements, and there are association areas which are actually carrying out more complex integrative functions. So we have seen that each area is assigned a particular number corresponding to that particular area, and in both the hemispheres similar areas are present. So the areas which are present in right hemisphere, they are actually associated with the left hand side of the body, and the areas which are located in the left hand side, these are associated with the areas which are located in right hand side of the body. Okay, so this is to do with the functional organization of the cerebral cortex. That's the reference. Thank you for watching.